seconds before we go live.
Yeah, right. He does that all the time. And once again with the soft open. Hello, sports fans, Goon Squad, geeks and geek fans alike. Welcome back. This is My Brother's an Idiot. Yes, it is that collection of goons, nerds, buffoons, and whatever else you want to call us, talking about whatever the hell we want. And it's fun, and we're damn glad you're here. We appreciate you joining us. My name is Matt. I'm the king of the goons. Let me kick you around the rest of the squad. First, my co-brother-in-law, the newest of the goons, Tank in the Extreme Southern Command. What is going on?
Just getting ready for this weekend. Busy as hell, but
yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit.
Doing better.
Yeah,
wondering who the hell our coach is going to be.
We'll also talk about that. Something tells me about 3/4 of this podcast ended up being coach stuff the way we go. And you can hear him chuckling in the background. He is the Guldagoon. He is the man we've named the podcast after, the Kaiser, the Baron, the one with the hair. I summon him, my brother, the idiot, Mark Goon.
And I am here. You can't see it in the background because of the lighting's kind of weird. But
oh god,
that made it worse, dude.
That made it worse. I'll change the lighting here in a bit. But Mo from You Deserve Art saved me another piece of Marty Michael Moore. This one's an Emperor Strikes Back poster, so it's pretty dope. So I have the Way of the Samurai, which is the Japanese title of Return of the Jedi, and then The Empire Strikes Back, which is very.
My question is: are you going to have any wall space left by the end of 2023?
Dude, no. We actually put a. You should see it. We actually put all of the art up now, and we put a moratorium on buying art for a while. Because there's
we'll see how space. Well that goes.
I have a pile of art like right over there.
We've gone 2 weeks without buying art. So
all right. Well, that's the first step.
Yeah. We've admitted we have a problem.
Yep. First thing you do when you find yourself at the bottom of a hole is stop digging.
Yeah. But anyways, we love Mo over at You Deserve Art.
Yeah, absolutely. We will sing his praises to the highest every single time we get a chance. Good to see you, bud.
Good to see you. Good
All
to
right.
see you, Hank. See you tomorrow, too.
Yeah, there you go. Let's fire off and start talking. First, we need to talk about the battle of the garbage mascots. We are into round 2, gentlemen. Let's get excited.
Is this like the quarterfinals?
Yes, this is the quarters. Yes.
Okay, so this is like the first round of the quarters, right?
Yeah,
is what we're doing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. The round of 8, and we've got 2 matchups to talk about. These are the worst matchups that have moved on from round 1. First, we'll talk about the Jazz and the Lakers. Both terrible mascots that make absolutely no sense. And it actually worked out because geographically they made sense where they were before. And now they make
this is perfect, actually.
Zero sense. I did not plan that.
No, but in the beginning of basketball, there's the line where they say, the Lakers moved to LA where there are no lakes, and the Jazz moved to Utah where they don't allow music.
Right?
Yeah, that ended up perfectly.
Yeah, that really worked pretty well.
Misplaced mascots. Yes.
Right? All right, Mark, we'll start with you. Jazz versus Lakers. What's your pick?
I know I don't prepare much for this show. I generally try to keep my work on this show. I mean, I do some stuff, in the off time, but I never look at the agenda for the episode until like the hour or hour and a half before the episode. This is an all-time record. I opened this thing, like 5 minutes before we started. So I haven't really had a chance to think about it. That being said, I'm going to say that the Jazz is a worse mascot because there's no jazz music in Utah. And I don't know what a Laker is, but you could say it's like a lake trout. And lake trout can get pretty big and eat a lot of really small fish. And some medium-sized fish too. So they could be kind of, interesting. Whereas Jazz in Utah, just not a thing.
All right, Mark's vote is for the Jazz. Tank, you're up.
Man, you brought up a really good question. What is a Laker?
I don't know how we didn't cover that the last time we talked about this.
Right? You just
Is that someone who works on a
No, there
lake?
It was just bad. It was just bad.
Sits in a lake?
Yeah. Minnesota.
Yeah.
North
Land of
Canadian?
1,000 lakes, not
South
Los
Canadian?
Angeles.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, Jazz is worse. Just because you can drown someone in a lake, at least, maybe.
That's fair. That's fair.
Fair. Absolutely fair. All right. I don't even need to make a vote because it's 2-0 already, and it doesn't matter what I think. Would have said the Jazz.
But we want to know what you think.
I was going to say the Jazz, even though I hate the Lakers. The Utah Jazz.
Stupid.
Yeah. That's a dumb name.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah. It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb. And I hate the Jazz, too, so I don't feel bad about it.
It doesn't help. Yeah, right.
Doesn't help. All right, so Jazz moves on into the semis, our next matchup. And this is another one that worked out funnily or amusingly, right? This is funnily a geographic battle. We have the Battle of New York, the Knickerbockers and the Nets. Holy smokes.
It's still always be the New Jersey Nets to me.
Yeah, right. I was just gonna say, aren't they in New Jersey? But I guess they are in.
And I don't know if we
Brooklyn
talked
now.
about this when we talked about the Nets, but that court that they play on has got to be the worst color of a basketball court.
God, it is awful.
It's like dull, matted, brownish grayish, and it just makes everyone that's standing on it look like a freaking NBA Jam character.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It looks like NBA Jam '98.
Yeah, he's on fire.
Yeah,
From way downtown.
Waiting for Arvydas Sabonis to pop out.
Right.
That was the only. I would go with Portland and run with who was it? I can't remember who their point guard was back in '98. I'm sure it's gonna kill me when I figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But their point guard and Arvydas Sabonis. I used to just fucking crush people with that lineup. Just stand under the hoop with Arvydas Sabonis.
You should be able to do that in the original version in 93 or 9. Yeah, it was 92 or 93 with Dikembe. It was Dikembe and Chris Jackson at the time.
Oh my God, Chris Jackson.
And you could just stand there as Dikembe and just block shots right in front of the rim. I got so many bottles of beer thrown at my head for that, the old fraternity house. Any rate, Tank, we'll start with you first. Knickerbockers and Nets. Which is worse, friend?
I guess I'm more afraid of pants. I don't know. I've zipped myself up once. Never been caught in a net because I'm not a fish. So
I think we just named it. Tank is afraid of pants.
Yeah. Yeah.
More than
I'm with you though. I'm totally with you on it. I mean, you and I both get made fun of a lot over at the farm for not wearing pants ever.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're both incredibly stupid. That's the problem. Oh, God. I'm going to go with the Knicks is worse because at least the Nets is basketball related. Pants.
Solid argument.
The New York pants is not a scary.
The New York pants.
That's a dumb thing.
It's the Staten Island pantaloons.
Exactly. Such a dumbass name.
All right. Tank says the Knicks. Mark, what's your call?
It's the Times Square. What are they called? Slacks.
Slacks.
Knit. I'm gonna go with the old. You watch all these old movies with gladiators, and they have like tridents and spears and swords and shields, and there's always some fucking idiot out there running around with a goddamn net, and so it's got to be a weapon, right? Look at you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's in every single movie. There's these guys, and there's one fucking asshole with like a net. Like, what is he gonna do with the motherfucking net, man? Like, that is the least intimidating thing. Like, that guy's dead. You get stuck with a net, you're fucking toast, right? But it's got to be a weapon. So I'm going to go with tank and say that the pants are worse, because I also agree. I don't like pants. I have an anti-pants propaganda agenda going on right now. But nets can be used in the field of battle, so that's slightly scarier, even though it's the worst weapon on the field of battle.
I was going to say the same thing for almost the same reason, except I'm going to get way more obscure with my movie reference. So there's a scene in one of the funniest movies of the early
I knew you were going to
2000s,
say that.
Kung
I know
Pao
exactly where you're going.
Enter the Fist, and they throw that little 6x6 net at his face, and he goes, "Ah!" He's caught by the net. Like, oh, at least the net caught somebody.
I knew you were. It was either that reference, or you're going to go with History of the World Part 1, where they're in the Roman, and he's got the net, and he's swinging it around.
Yep.
Was it Gregory Hines has the net?
Got the net.
I forgot about the
that scene
Kung
with
Pao
that 1 foot square net just kills me every time.
net.
Yeah. Little inside baseball. I will always share Kung Pao TikToks with Mark because they're hysterical.
Have you, Tank? You've seen that movie, right?
Oh yes, way back when.
Okay. That's one of our favorites.
A ridiculous movie.
It is.
Yep. That's
the
one
only part of,
I quote that almost every day. Come inside.
The only part of that movie that I don't like is the dumb cow, but the rest of that movie is fucking brilliant.
Yeah. The cow, part of the cow scene is good. Part of it's dumb. The very end with the stupid pyramid ships is kind of dumb, but the whole thing is, I mean, it's not supposed to be intelligent, but it's
come, let's go get the Neosporin.
Come inside. I'll get the Neosporin. Neo. Sporin. Oh my god!
All right, before this gets too derailed,
we're gonna just go right off into Kung Pao hell. All right. So 12 minutes in, we've managed to derail ourselves 3 times. Good job, guys. All right. So the Jazz and the Knicks move on into the semis. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the other side of the bracket. Good job, fellas.
Maybe next week.
All right, little local news that bleeds into the national side. And Mark, I am going to start with you here. So the Hall of Fame voting was released yesterday for Major League Baseball. Scott Rowland made it. Nobody else did. Help me, Mark, make sense of why Todd Helton is not in the Hall of Fame. I just don't understand.
Hi, Ghost of Sarah. It's so awesome. Yeah. I can't make sense of it. I love all things baseball. You guys know that. I'm kind of the baseball nerd of the cast. But I really, really have a problem with the Baseball Writers of America being in charge of the Hall of Fame, because it becomes a pissing match and it becomes very, very personal. I don't understand why Todd Helton's not in there. The only thing I can think of is they're sort of wrapping him into the whole steroids era, even though he was never ever caught. And plus he played in Colorado, which has never been good. So those are the only 2 things I can think of. But I am not a baseball writer, nor would I ever be. So fuck those guys. Like, he missed it by what? Like 10 votes?
11.
It was,
something like that. 71%. He needed 75.
He needed 75. He got 72.2.
Fucking stupid, man. Yeah. It's so fucking stupid. Yeah.
And not
baseball
just
writers suck. It ruins the game.
He wasn't the only one on that list that just got bodied for no reason. You know, you're 100% right. It's bullshit that these anonymous D-bags get to vote on who goes into the Hall of Fame based on whatever they think is Hall of Fame worthy. And the fact that they put Roland in and Fred McGriff got in earlier this year, which he definitely deserved.
Yeah.
Crime dog.
But the fact that they left out Helton, they left out Billy
Again.
Wagner, they left
Yeah.
out Gary Sheffield, they left out Carlos Beltran. And I'm like, what the fuck are these
Sheffield
idiots
got
doing?
left off because of his ties to New York and the steroid stuff.
I know, but
And the big reason why he got left off is because he's an asshole.
he is an
See,
asshole.
and
it's
that-
the
and that-
stupidest thing in the world.
It is
It's
the
so
stupidest
stupid.
thing in the world, and we
It's the
had
same
this
thing that happened
very
to Terrell
conversation.
Owens.
And it's the same thing that happened last year. And I ranted about this last year. I'm going to rant about it again. If the
Here
guy,
we go.
if the guy
Do you
is
need
a
the
Hall
music?
of Fame, right? I know. Where's Dipshit?
Even
Don't get me started.
me started.
If a guy belongs in the Hall of Fame, put him in the Hall of Fame. And there are two problems that I have with it. And one of them, Tank, you touched on with the steroids. It was the era. That's how it worked, right? That everyone was on the juice.
Almost
except
everyone
for,
was juiced up.
Right. The only person in that era who we can point to and definitely say was not on the juice and was a fantastic play, Ken Griffey Jr. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't hold the era against him because that's the way baseball was. Baseball has always had a culture of cheating. That's what happens. And they were all cheating. They were all doing it. Dear God, they had a pitcher who has ties to Boston and New York who they kept off. And he was on the juice too. I'm not done. I'm going to come to you in a minute. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, we got
I'm gonna lose that train of thought. So
I'm just getting rolling.
I'll remember it because I agree with you. I want to get into that one too.
Right. The other thing is the Hall of Fame. This Hall of Fame voting release yesterday is a symptom of the overall problem, and it's the biggest problem I have with baseball. Baseball is dominated by the stuffed shirt, and these folks, the purists, can't get out of their own way and will not allow the game to, one, evolve, to get better. I mean, dear God, they're going to get rid of the shift? Okay, how about the batter learns how to flip and bunt or slap the ball the other way? You're going to get rid of the one thing that they've done from a strategic standpoint that's radically different, because you can't really do much in baseball from a strategy standpoint. It's numbers, it's where you pitch the ball. They came up with a strategy that actually changes the game. You know what? Fucking adapt. Bunt the ball down the third base line. That'll put a stop to the shift really freaking quick, won't it? Yes, it absolutely will. But no, we don't like the shift because that doesn't let... Shut up. Just shut up and allow the game to evolve. It's not the same as it was in 1920. You know what? There were a whole bunch of really good athletes in 1920 who couldn't even play Major League Baseball. Do we hold that against those guys who played then? No, we don't. They weren't playing against the best athletes in the world. They were playing against the best white guys in the world. It's ridiculous. And I'm off my soapbox. What was the thing you guys wanted to get into?
Well, if you know, to fall on that sword again, notoriously, especially in that era with, you know, with Babe Ruth, they were coked up constantly. That had no impact on their ability to mess around with the ball. They were on pills, they were on drugs, they were on all this stuff. And it's like, okay, so the steroid guys are the ones that are the issue. As if the steroids didn't exist from, I don't know, 1950 to, 1990. There was no steroids there. Just they were all clean the whole time.
No, they were on amphetamines in the 60s and 70s. They were on coke in the 80s. I mean, dear God, look at the Mets in the 80s. Jesus, God almighty. That was a Scarface level event.
There was also a lot, before that too. You had the Black Sox and all that kind of stuff too. So
Oh,
it was
yeah.
different. And Pete Rose, the cheating scandal there. My whole point was you said something that kind of irked me, where you said baseball has a history of cheating. Yeah, that's true. All sports have a history of bending the rules, cheating. You look at the Olympics, you look at football, you look at all those sports. Now, baseball is the only sport that retroactively has anger towards its past, where they go after these guys constantly. Look at Pete Rose. He's never going to be in the Hall of Fame because they're angry about something that happened 50 years ago. You look at the steroids guys. That's not the case in football. Lance Armstrong is still considered one of the best, even though he got his title stripped away from him, he's still making money off of, all these different things. And he's still considered one of the greatest cyclers of all time. These guys in baseball are retroactively holding these guys accountable for something that these guys even knew was going on because they were in the locker room every day. But now there's outrage about it because it's after the fact and now it's illegal. That's the difference. All sports have cheating, and it's a big deal in all sports.
I didn't say that that all sports don't cheat. I said baseball has a culture of cheating. It's
I would say that's sports in general.
No, I don't think that it is. I think there's a difference between what happens in baseball you can look at Ty Cobb sharpening his spikes and every way they can figure out a way to steal signs. It is more pronounced in baseball.
I think that happens. No, I think it happens in every single sport. It's more pronounced culturally because we talk about it retroactively and then we get angry about it. And then they change the rules and then say those guys were cheaters back then.
Well, look what happened to Houston. That's not long ago. And the commissioner literally said, "Oh, who cares?"
But
it's just a trophy. Who cares? It's like, okay, if you're going to have that mindset, then you don't get to fuck all these people out.
Right. But I'm saying that kind of shit happens in the NFL. There's taping scandals and people watching practices and that kind of stuff. It's prevalent in every sport. It's not just baseball that does this. It happens everywhere.
You're directing the point. The point is there's a ingrained culture in baseball, and to your point, they hold it against them for no fucking reason. It's the game. It's how it works, right?
Right.
It just how it works. They cheat. They find ways to cheat. Hello, Houston.
Yeah, as if the pitchers haven't for 60, 70 years been
they're still doing it.
Putting different shit on the balls just to make it spin differently or spin faster or
that happens in every sport too. Look at the Vaseline,
Bardol.
But it was a very widely let's go ahead and state honestly, it was accepted for a long time.
Correct. And that's the difference. That's the difference is in the NFL, they found out about it and they got rid of it, but it was accepted as well in the NFL that everyone had different PSIs for their footballs. Everyone scuffed their footballs differently. It's the same thing in all the sports, You in hockey, you have a guy unfortunately, the guy is now averaging 20 minutes a game, but every team has one of us or you, Matt, or one of us who has no business being on skates and a fucking stick is keeping them upright, and they're just going out punching people out. That's not part of the rules, right? They get ejected when that shit happens. Cheating is in every sport. To say that baseball is just they're the cheating ones is kind of mindless to say that kind of thing because everyone says it. That was my whole point. Is it's not just baseball. Don't just throw baseball under the bus. Every sport does it.
Yeah, there's cheaters in every sport.
We're talking about baseball, and we're talking about why it's an issue, right? Don't deflect, and don't bring up my boy Curtis, right? The goon.
No, I'm going
hockey,
to. He's fucking terrible.
Of course, he's terrible.
But that's not my point. The difference is when everyone's cheating in all these other sports, they change the rules and move on. When baseball happens, they cheat, they try to fix the rules, and then they dwell on the past and admonish those people. You know, like Bill Romanowski, everyone still loves Bill Romanowski, but that guy was one of the biggest cheats there was.
I don't know about that. There's you're going to get about a 50-50 split of people who love him or hate him. I mean, there were people on his own team who couldn't stand him.
Denver. When he played for Denver, Denver loved him. All of it.
Correct.
Yeah. Denver loved him. What about the people in the locker room? That locker room was split in there, especially after he spit in what's his name's face. That almost tore that team to pieces.
Yeah. But here's the thing though, is we all look back at Bill Romanowski as a person you love to hate. You don't look back on him and say, what a fucking cheater. I hate that guy. I'd piss in his Cheerios. But these baseball writers are doing that. They're pissing in people's Cheerios.
Again,
Well,
it
and the
goes
one
back
about
to this.
Helton-
That's the difference.
It goes back to the stuffed shirts of baseball.
Well, and
Right.
the Helton,
It's people that they have no business talking about this stuff, and they're mad about it, even though they were part of it when it was happening.
and the Helton issue is the Walker issue. Until he finally got in, and that's like, oh, he played in Colorado.
Right.
You know,
Like, why
and
are
if
you
you look at
punishing him for where he played?
if you look at Walker, if you look at Helton's road splits, his road numbers were better than Ken Griffey Jr. Ken
Yeah,
Griffey
right.
Jr. did not play as
Yeah.
well as Todd Helton on the road. What does that tell you? And Helton's numbers, with one exception for his career, if you look at his statistical numbers, the only thing that Scott Rowland was better number-wise than Todd Helton was WAR. He has better numbers all the way across the board. And to leave him off is a goddamn shame.
It's a fucking crying shame. It's fucking stupid.
It's fucking stupid.
And even then,
Fucking stupid.
Roland, if we're going to be honest, wasn't significantly better even there. It's a small difference, you know.
Plus, here's the other thing: is how many baseball writers are there in St. Louis? Everyone loves St. Louis. That's the thing. Is like all the people in St. Louis. Look at what's the name? Joe Buck. He's a diehard St. Louis guy, and he still gets to broadcast fucking World Series and playoff games with St. Louis Cardinals in them. But Scott Rowland played for the Cardinals, and they're a big deal because that's St. Louis and that's their team and all that shit. I personally hate St. Louis fans. So if you're listening from St. Louis, kindly go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Cardinals either. Go eat shit.
But
still.
their media presence is much much larger than Colorado's is.
Well, yeah,
And that's the big difference.
And you look down the board on the people that they left off, it's like, it doesn't make sense. Okay, we all know A-Rod is a douche and was definitely juicing. But juicing gets you so far. Being able to play two bases better than most people have ever played a single base in your entire career, that has nothing to do with steroids. That's
Not only that, but you can juice me full of a bunch of steroids, but I can't hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Nope.
I can't launch 400 foot bombs.
I couldn't touch the ball.
Yeah,
I'm just watching that motherfucker go by and watch for my life.
You can't take away the skill, the genuine skill that he had.
I agree. Right.
Yeah. Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he got to San Francisco.
Yeah, before he started taking whatever he was taking, which we still don't know what that really is.
I'm gonna shut this down and we're gonna move on with one final quote. And Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball. That's all.
It's getting to be that time of year where I got to watch that before the season starts.
Right,
We're coming up on it. I already warned Lisa about it. She knows. I was like, you know what that means? She's like, yep, we got to watch Major League before the season starts. Major League.
Yep,
she knows.
Right.
Every year.
Let's move on to news in the NFL, and we're going to talk first about the local team and the "Are You Coach" segment of the week. Are you coach? Are you coach?
Well, that's the thing. Talking about the local team is basically talking about every team. What's been happening?
Oh, the local, yeah, right.
Yeah, there's still 5 jobs left.
Yeah.
Right. We were going to talk about interview news, but there really isn't any besides. It's been a very slow process all the way around, and I think a lot of it's got to do with the fact that the Super Bowl is so late. There's not a whole lot of urgency. We did see, and Tank, I'll start with you here. We did see Frank Reich landed in Carolina. Interestingly enough,
that pissed a lot of people off.
Carolina jungle.
You know what's funny about that? Hey, Shaggy, shut up. Frank Reich actually took the first snap under center of the Carolina Panthers.
That is correct. And that's why he probably got hired.
Yeah,
but
probably.
I'd say Wilkes kind of deserved a shot, right? I mean...
Well, he got a shot. He got 2 interviews.
No, I mean a legitimate shot where he's the actual coach of that team.
Oh, he got a chance to be the coach. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. He really deserved that shot. I know Frank Reich is seemingly a good head coach, good offensive coordinator, but we just literally watched him get replaced by Jeff Saturday in Indianapolis. So
that's not a slight on Frank Reich. That's a slight on Irsay for the stupid.
Yes
stupid
and no.
Move. And they saddled him with 3 bullshit quarterbacks, none of whom could play, with the exception of Phyllis Rivers. They went retread after
that's
retread
questionable
after retread.
at best.
Right. I mean, got him into the playoffs. He made it.
Yeah.
He took him to the playoffs. So I'm
He was handing the ball off a lot.
Yeah, the only interview news that came up was that D'Amico Ryans canceled 2 interviews because he was prepping for the playoffs.
Right.
So, but Frank Reich, he seems good. We saw what he could do with a good offense and with talent at quarterback. But I don't know. I still think it should have gone to Wilkes. But
Mark, what do you think about Frank Reich?
Good for him. He was going to get another job. Like you guys said, he got kind of hosed in Indianapolis, to be honest with you. He did the best with what he had. The quarterback situation there was awful. He had 2 guys that were way past their prime. I know we're talking about Phyllis, but man, that guy was a shadow of himself when he was there. And then they had Matt Ryan, who was a disaster too. You know, it was just bad stuff. And he's out of that situation now with a bad ownership and into a situation where it's probably going to be a lot better. I mean, we'll see.
He has no quarterback now either.
Well, yeah,
but you know what though? They were in the playoffs.
The ownership is different.
Yeah, the ownership is different. To the second richest ownership group in the league.
Yeah.
And weirdly,
about the NFC
got better
South
after they traded Christian McCaffrey. How does that work?
And the thing about the NFC South too is you're never out of it. Because all those teams are bloody
Such a
bad.
Crash bag division at this point, yeah.
So, but I think it's good for Frank Reich. Whatever. He wasn't on the Broncos' radar anyways. As far as I'm concerned, I was saying stuff about these other 2 guys, but I was kind of like, don't really like them. So, as far as I'm concerned, with all the news we're talking about today, I'm good with all of it.
Right.
Dan Quinn staying in Dallas.
I was just going to say Dan Quinn announced today.
I was shocked.
In Dallas. So was I. I think maybe Jarrah convinced him to stick around, and he's the next guy up if something happens along the season. Because we've been saying it for 2 years now that Mike McCarthy train and that old show there has got to be getting tired with Jarrah. And I'm surprised he didn't get whacked after that game. We'll talk about the game itself here in a little bit. But
interestingly enough, do you
completely
think
shocked
that takes Sean Payton out of the Cowboys sweepstakes?
It sounds like because they brought Dan Quinn back as the defensive coordinator, that was what was announced, that McCarthy's safe. And that's what the bigger shock to me was how do you not fire McCarthy after the bullshit that he did all year, let alone fucking on the national stage on Sunday, you know, like whatever. I'm surprised McCarthy still has a job. And so I'm surprised that, like you said, they must have given him a bump and said, hey, be on the lookout. We're probably going to whack this guy, 2 games in if he's not 2-0 and 50-0, something like that.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something going on
like that. Yeah, there's something there. They definitely.
The fact that Mike McCarthy was on the plane. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the fact that Mike McCarthy was on the plane back really just shows that I was confused by that. Like, why did they just leave him there?
Yeah,
let him find his way.
Yeah, McCarthy and Staley both keeping their jobs were the surprises of the offseason for sure in terms of hiring.
That's legitimate,
right?
Yeah.
Last thing to touch on, there's some news that came out today from Sean. Actually, this week, the whole Sean Payton thing, guys. This story is super. I want to say weird, but it's more interesting than it is anything else. You've got Cowherd saying one thing, and it's nationally acknowledged that he and Sean Payton are boys. They both work for Fox, right? And there's definitely a connection there. And Cowherd was saying, well, he really likes it there, but this other, he doesn't want to go there. He wants to go there. He really likes the ownership, wants to work with Russ. But Denver's a dumpster fire. So you're really not sure where that was all coming from. And then there was a report today by a guy named, I think it's Mike Maskey, who's a writer for the Washington Post. And I thought this was super interesting. This guy's got zero national presence that I've ever seen. And he reports today on Twitter that Sean Payton doesn't like the Broncos job because he thinks he's going to run into a power struggle with one of the ownership group.
Seemingly.
And then about 2 hours later, Sean Payton himself, after the whole world reacts, is like, well, this guy must be talking to Sean. This is more Sean spinning it in the media. He didn't get the interview that he wanted. He's not getting the offer or whatever. Sean Payton himself comes out on Twitter, and this is like 2 hours ago or 3 hours ago, and says, this couldn't be farther from the truth. So which is it? Like, what's really going on here, guys?
Well, and seemingly, because that's been, like you just said, there's a lot of assholes, let's go ahead and say it that way, that seem to be postulating on what's happening in the NFL, and there seems to be a lot of people just basically throwing those down immediately. So there's a lot of just, hey, look at me stuff happening with reporting right now. Because the other news that came out was that nobody is giving Sean Payton another interview, which seems odd that suddenly he was being, hosted by 5 teams and now nobody wants him back.
You know
Which
what
is
that says to
interesting.
me? That says to me that the Saints' demand for compensation is way too high. They want to make it super difficult.
Yeah.
Because they need the cash, they need the cap, or they need the draft capital. They're pretty strapped there too. So it seems to me that that's what's going on there.
They also need
Yeah.
money. So maybe
Yeah.
stop paying for a coach.
He's under contract.
He's under contract.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let him go, get that out from under you,
Mhm.
and stop worrying about that part of it.
The way the media has taken this and really gone with Sean Payton's side on this, everyone's hammering like, wow, the Broncos aren't the job. The Broncos aren't the job. And it makes
Everyone
me
hates
really,
Russ. Yeah.
right. And everyone's hating. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's hating on Russ. So it's, easy to dump on Russ and, make Sean Payton look better. It really makes me think that Greg Penner was like, they're asking for too much, man. We're not going to make this happen. And now, because Sean Payton had this idea that that's what was going to happen, and then he lost the Carolina job, now he's trying to save face. So he's going to his buddy Colin Cowherd, who's on the radio, for 21 hours a week. And he's going through all these other channels and releasing that didn't happen. I really think that they said, thanks, no thanks. We're not giving up 2 first rounds, and which we don't really have that much anyways. And we're not, it's just not feasible to spend $25 million on a coach, even though they're the richest ownership group in the country and can afford it. $25 million and 2 first round draft picks is way too much, especially for somebody who's been out of football for 2 years.
That's more than
the
double.
game passes you by quick.
That's more than double the next highest paid coach.
I
for
agree.
a guy that, hey, he was a good coach, but he did only win 1 fucking Super Bowl.
Isn't Belichick making 20?
No, is he? Oh, he might be because he got restructured. Okay,
but you're still going to pay Sean Payton.
He got
more
5
than
Super
Bill
Bowls
Belichick?
compared to 1.
Well, yeah,
right.
No, I'm just
not only that,
it's not twice.
Not only that, but you have to deal with one of the biggest scandals in history where he got suspended from a year.
Yeah, for actively paying players to injure opposing teams.
Right. I think that is not lost on these guys too.
Yeah.
Plus, it's the Bill Cowher thing. I don't think Bill Cowher thought he was going to be out of footballs for so long, and the longer it went, the more and more comfortable he got. And the game passes you by so quick if you're not on top of it and in it every day. Look at everybody who's jumped out. John Fox hasn't gotten another coaching job. He doesn't want
I don't know if Foxy wants another coaching job.
Right. He doesn't want one. I think Bill Cowher's done.
Yeah, Bill Cowher's done.
He's got Sean Payton's got this other job to fall back on where he's making almost $10 million a year, and it's one of the hardest jobs to get in media.
And even look at Gary Kubiak. He's taking a giant pay cut to essentially just be a consultant.
Yep.
Because he doesn't want to be a coach anymore at that high of a position.
Sure. Yeah, he just wants to hang around the game.
Yeah, he wants to hang around his kid, spend time with the players still, and help his kid develop. So,
I'm okay with Sean Payton going away. I think he's a little bit overhyped.
All right. Having said that, gentlemen, quickly around the horn, Mark, who's your odds-on favorite for the job, and who, if it's different, would you like to see in the job? Knowing what you know today.
Odds-on favorite's probably D'Amico Ryan, and as much as I hate to see another head coach 4th time, 3 or 4 times in a row, this would be the first time head coach. I think D'Amico Ryan's got a little bit more of the background we're actually looking for, and he is a player's coach and is not no nonsense. That he's not a pushover like Nathaniel was, or it's just different. So I think that he's kind of the odds-on favorite. Interesting to note the David Shaw thing. I'm not sure what that's all about. I'm kind of, secretly wanting like a D'Amico Ryan's David Shaw coaching thing where both of them come in and do like the head coach and maybe David Shaw's the offensive coordinator or something. I don't think that that's plausible, but it would be really cool. I think that D'Amico Ryan's is probably the favorite. Interesting to note that Jerry Rothsberg's on this list too.
Which is interesting after what happened today. So
yeah, they let him go.
Yeah, he was let go today.
Right. Jerry was?
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah,
okay.
I think
we have no idea why.
Yeah.
He just
interesting.
His contract was his contract. Well, we do know his contract ended.
Yeah, his contract ended. Yeah, so I think there's still an opportunity for Jerry to come back because it doesn't have a contract. So there's it's just an odd way for that to go.
He wasn't in the interview process to begin with.
No, he forced
it was kind of weird.
Which was kind of fun. It's like, oh, you're going to talk to me.
I love
it.
Yeah, right. Like I won you a game, motherfuckers.
Right. We look good. Before I kick it over to Tank for your thoughts here, Mark, I think that the one connection you're missing in the Shaw thing is Condi Rice with her connections to Stanford.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I think that's exactly where that's coming from. But
I know exactly where it's coming from.
Okay,
but I would like the two of those guys. I don't think it's going to happen.
You're gonna get one. I think. Tank, odds-on favorite. Who's your choice?
Odds-on favorite is I agree with Mark on that. It's got to be D'Amico Ryan. I think the fact that he, even more than before, the fact that he actively said, "Hey, I'm not going to worry about it right now. I have a team to coach. When I have time, I'll get back to the interviews." And all of a sudden, no, we're not interviewing anybody else anymore.
Right.
I think that speaks a lot for where they're directing their attention. Mm-hmm. And along with that, the only other legitimate option that we've heard was Caldwell potentially. And in either case,
quiet too.
And that one's been fairly quiet. My big concern with either case is I want to know who they're bringing in for OC, or if they're active, or if they're just going to be bumping Clint up. I want to know who the OC is. I'm more concerned about who the offensive coordinator is and making sure that person is actually going to be the offensive coordinator and not just some fucking puppet with a hand up his ass. That's what I want to know. Exactly. But yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be D'Amico Ryan, and I'm fine with it at this point. I think I'm slightly preferential if it was Caldwell, but it looks like that heat's dying at this point. So D'Amico's good. Sounds good to me. Just as long as he has a good offensive coordinator. That's what I
agree with both of you. I think the odds-on favorite at this point, at least based on what we're hearing, right? We can only go off of what's out there and what's being put out there by the local gang because they clearly have some connections still. I think it's D'Amico Ryan's. Everyone's, hemming or fawning over the guy. You listen to the way he talks and, the leader of men and all of that. He's definitely the odds-on favorite to win the job. I still would love to see Jim Caldwell here. I think that steadying force, no nonsense, won't take shit from anybody. And he's steady, right? He's not super duper down in the dumps, and he's never way up in the clouds. He's just a steady presence, lead the team, will hold Russ accountable, knows quarterbacks, has coached some of the greats. So I would love to see him here. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. And of the remaining people who have head coaching experience, I think he's the last one. So I'm going to hang my hat on that one and say, please, let's do that. Because I'm right there with you. 4 in a row, first-time head coaches. But then you think about, every successful head coach at one point in their career was a first-time head coach. And some of them even at the position where they were successful in their first-time position, right? So, you look at Kyle Shanahan. I would consider that a very successful hire at this point, right? The guy is doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So there's and multiple examples everywhere. People get hired in first time and they do well. So
they just haven't been here in a while.
Right. I know. And a lot of that, I think, you can look
and
at
it's getting worse.
it's you look at VJ, right? I think they were just enamored with his ability to lead and didn't figure anything else out about the guy, or at least didn't realize he doesn't know how to manage a clock and doesn't understand, we're going to do some good things and we're going to do some bad things, and we had a great Wednesday of practice for 16 straight weeks. And, they just, right. It was so bad. Right. And then,
but he was having the time of his
life. Right. And then they go anti VJ and go with Grumpy Vic, who I still adore. Yeah.
I love the guy. I love the guy.
Right. Who interviewed at Miami to be their DC. I would pay real money to listen to Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio for 3 hours a day and just listen to the two of them be on two totally different levels the entire time and have.
I don't
Mike
think that those two guys could communicate.
Oh, it would be great.
I don't think those guys can talk.
And the thing is, Vic's such a football nerd, that might be where they connect. But then Mike would go off at a tangent and Vic, I'm going to go make some damn meatballs and just leave. I think that would be hysterical.
Just walk away. Yeah.
Just walk away. This is horse shit. I'm leaving. We love you, Vic. All right, good luck in Miami. All right, let's move on to actual gameplay because we're 45 minutes in. We haven't even talked about a flipping game yet. The division weekend is over. We are moving into championship weekend. Each of the 4 games were notable in their own different ways. We're going to start with the 49ers and the Cowboys, and what is going to be remembered as not a pivotal moment in terms of plays in the NFL, but a seminal moment in terms of plays in the NFL. Hey, Mark, do you think Zeke has recovered from being pancaked in reverse?
I still haven't recovered from that. Oh my God, they lined up for it. The Cowboys were like, I don't know what the fuck this is. Timeout. And then they lined up for it again. And they ran this play. And they had their highest paid running back, like the second most overpaid player on the team, line up as center. And he got trucked. Oh, and the Cowboys lost.
I have seen some extraordinarily goofy shit at the youth football level in the last 13 years. I have never seen anything even close to that. That was the wildest thing I have ever seen.
You could tell that the offensive linemen knew it wasn't going to work. They were all just like...
And then Dak was got someone running at him full speed. It's like he's the one guy that's covered and almost got it killed.
Oh boy, got tattooed.
He did. Folded right in half. Zeke's dead on the ground. This other guy's cut in half. And McCarthy's just standing there going, well, shit, I thought that was going to work. What happened?
1, 2, 3, Cancun.
I legitimately question whether or not they watched that. Remember the Indy play a few years ago? Where they did the same thing, where they had the long snapper as the only person on the line for some fucking
Pat
reason.
McAfee has been talking about it since that happened.
I'm wondering if they looked at that play and said, you know what, we could make that work.
Yeah. And then they looked at it, and you know what they did is they looked at it and they said, hey, I kind of like that. Let's make it better.
Put a running back there instead of
hold my beer.
Hey, McCarthy, is that a mojo moment?
What makes me wonder is whose decision was that? Was that McCarthy or was that Kellen?
It had to have been. It had to have been.
It could have been Kellen.
They lined up for
it
twice.
And you know why I think it wasn't Kellen's call? Kellen had 2 great interviews in Carolina, and all the reports were that he made it really difficult for them to go with Frank. And I think they had to have asked. Like, what was the thought process there? And I'm sure he's like, dude, that was Mike.
That'd be the first fucking question I would have asked. Like, what the hell was that?
Right. I'm not
put it up on the screen. Coach's clicker, like, okay, so can you explain what happened? Like, no, dude, that was Mike. That was
that was Mike.
Would you play?
No,
And they never claim that play.
Right. And Kellen Kellen played his college ball at Boise State, and they pull off historically
some
and pull
wild
off some
shit,
really wild shit. I mean,
Correct.
more so in the past. They don't do a whole lot of it anymore, but
No, back when they were good, when he was.
oh
the
yeah,
coach.
yeah. When they were really good, they
had some
Yeah.
goofy shit.
That was the
Statue of Liberty.
fucking awful, man.
Right.
Oh, it was so funny.
right.
Anything you could possibly do in that scenario.
Oh
There's
my
a lot of
God.
options. I don't know how they landed on Zeke is the snapper. Well, you mean the running back
The
that
best part is
Yeah.
the fucking defensive tackle started with the running start like fucking the water
yeah.
he wasn't lined up on the ball. He was 4 yards back. It was like, I'm coming, motherfucker.
Yeah, fucking Bobby Boucher, the both of them.
He did. Oh, I was so ready. I was so ready for pitchy woo woo because we've seen it 3 or 4 times.
Pitchy witchy woo.
We got nothing even close. We got
nothing.
flat. We got flat Stanley and
we're
a
gonna do the
decapitated
pitchy-
receiver.
If you're gonna do the pitchy shit, then why not have, supposedly your number one running back? I don't know, maybe be one of the potential targets.
Because he
Right.
clearly had to snap the ball and protect the quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. He was not eligible.
Not to get a pass. He could have been pitched.
He could have been
He
part
could
of
have been
the- yeah, he
pitched.
could have been
Yeah,
part
could have
of the
been
pitchy.
pitched
but
to.
he was
They
not
just
eligible.
didn't get to the pitchy witchy woo woo.
No, there was no pitchy woo woo.
Because the guy
It
that
was
caught the pass
death.
got immediately nailed. And would have been better off just dropping the ball. So at least they had a chance of doing another play, maybe.
It was hacky slashy dead guy.
This happened 5 days ago, and I'm still laughing about it like
Oh,
I
God.
just saw it for the first time.
So good.
It's so stupid.
It's the funniest
So
fucking thing
good.
I've ever
All
seen. We were actually listening to the radio broadcast of it. You should have heard the guys talking.
Like,
Oh,
what?
yeah. Well, even the
I'm
live
not sure
broadcast-
what we're watching.
Even the live broadcast, he loved it. He's like, "Oh, he got smoked there." I was like,
Yeah, he absolutely did.
Wow, he just got
Yeah.
tattooed.
Oh,
And,
all right.
And it sucks for the defense because the Cowboys defense came to fucking play apparently.
Oh, they were really good. They've been really good all year. That's been a
yeah.
top.
Well, I know, but
five,
one
if not
of their
top 10
better
defense.
performances was this game. They looked
Right.
great.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
looked
And
awesome.
then just the
Right.
offense just decided to piss it away for some
Right.
reason.
Yeah, and before we move on, the greatest thing about that game is how now the internet shits all over the Cowboy Nation, and that just warms my little heart because all the Zeke memes. My favorite one that I've seen so far that's not Zeke related was Dak holding a tray full of turnovers.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Pastry
Yeah.
chef. I'm like,
He's like,
Well, that-
"Fresh
they used to
baked."
do that one for Jameis when he was in Tampa.
oh yeah.
The old
Sure did,
turnover
man.
factory.
Fucking
Yeah.
100
30.
yards, 5 touchdowns, and
Yeah.
6 interceptions.
I mean, the man, they really should do a 30 for 30 on 30 for 30 because
Oh, yeah.
that's one of the great
Yeah.
seasons ever turned in my quarter.
Well, that's why it's a big surprise that McCarthy didn't get fired because that's 2 years in a row where some dumbass decision was made at the end of the game that cost them the game.
Right.
His in-game decision making has been notoriously bad for as
yeah.
long as he's been a head coach.
Yeah,
It
what do you
just
think
blows
Rodgers
my
in Green
mind.
Bay?
Out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rodgers
Yeah.
ran him out of town because he couldn't stand
Right.
some of the shit he was
Yeah.
coming up with.
I'm surprised with all the Yahoo Dallas fans that they haven't fucking rioted and gone to McCarthy's house and
Yeah. Oh.
climbed the fences like zombies.
Did you
Oh, yeah.
imagine like a Frankenstein style pitchfork and torch riot headed towards Jerry
Oh
World?
god.
Oh my
Like,
God.
That's what
In
happened.
the middle of fucking Frisco.
All right, we gotta move
Tom
on.
Landry is the greatest football coach ever.
Tom Landry is a great American hero.
Dad,
Butane
if you're
is
wa-
a bastard gas.
Pops, if you're watching, I'm sorry to make fun of that again, but I just had to. I was making fun of the Hank Hill because on Sunday,
Yeah, Jerry Jones firing Tom Landry.
it's like I stopped being a Cowboys fan when he fired Tom Landry, and I turned around and looked at my father-in-law. I was like, Tom Landry is an American hero.
Tom Landry is a great American hero.
That's exactly what I said.
Even if you didn't hate him for that, when he fired Jimmy Johnson and put in Barry Switzer, what the fuck?
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah.
That was terrible. That was terrible.
Worst owner in sports. Anyway,
God, we're almost an
well,
hour in, and we've covered one
Second,
game.
Dan
I got
Snyder's
one
fault.
game. Right.
These ones
All
will go
right.
quicker.
Yeah, next one on the docket, the Bills and the Bengals in the rematch of the game that never was. I honestly thought it was a movie script that was going to write itself, and the Bills lost the Disney ending. Mark, bigger issue here, Josh Allen or the Bills defense?
I would think that Josh Allen is probably fine. I'm not exactly sure what some of the play calling was. But the Bills defense looked really bad, and the Bengals just make everybody look bad. So I don't know if it's necessarily that the Bills were playing bad, but the Bengals came out right away, went up 14-0, and just even when they let them back in it, they were never in it. The Bills were never in that game. Even when the score was close, they just seemed like the Bengals were going to win the entire time. So, I mean, is this the chokiest franchise of all time in the Bills? Maybe right up there with Minnesota, considering that they did it 4 times in the Super Bowl, and now this is twice in the playoffs with the best quarterback in football that everyone says. Everyone's all on Josh Allen's nuts. But I don't know. I would put this more as the Bengals played well, and they just beat them.
Tank, what say you?
I'm going option 3. I think the coaching is fucking up Josh Allen's life at this point. Because legitimately, he is forced to carry that entire offense.
Yeah.
He is forced to carry that entire offense constantly. And not in the way that Patrick carries an offense, not in the way that Burrow carries an offense. And he is the only legitimate threat on that field that doesn't catch a ball from him, being Stephon Diggs. There is no legitimate threat on that field that is.
And he kind of disappeared because he was bracketed the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they had to do. They shut down Stephon Diggs. Where'd the ball going? Nowhere.
Right.
He can't run it. He
Right.
can't throw it. He can't do anything about it. And then once again, you're right. The offense carried that team a lot this year. And you saw something from Josh Allen this year that hasn't been there since his rookie year. And that was he's making weird mistakes because he's panicking. And I think that's because he's legitimately carrying this team to a point that it's not sustainable for him.
No.
And then
that's a lot like Elway in the 80s.
Exactly. And the defense is legitimately weirdly not good as they should be. But I think also I might question coaching on that too. They have talent on defense.
Yeah, but that defense changed dramatically when Vaughn went down. You don't have that guy on the edge. The pass rush went away. And in today's league, you have to have a pass rush. And he was the guy that was going to instigate the pass rush, draw attention, and allow other people to do it. And when you don't have to worry about Vaughn, they didn't have much else. There's a couple other things to take away from this game. One, Stephon Diggs and the drama there, I think, is going to be interesting to watch. I don't know if you saw his act during and after the game.
Yeah,
right.
He's also forces. This will be the second team he's forced his way out of if he doesn't.
Yeah, if it happens, right? Because it had same thing happened in Minnesota, and he's a fiery guy and he's a receiver. We all know how receivers can get sometimes, and he walked out of the locker room after minutes, and someone had to come get him and drag him back in. So we'll see how all that shakes out. I think the other thing to note here is I don't know that Josh's elbow was right the entire year, and that was his throwing elbow. They didn't talk about it much because if you don't have to talk about it much, you don't want to give the other team an opportunity to target it and give them something with a bullseye on it. There's got to be something there, and it even came up after the season. He's not having surgery, but it's like, yeah, rest is going to do me a lot of good. I think the elbow wasn't right in his throwing arm, and it really made a big difference after he got hurt.
Well, and I think, and it kind of, I would agree with that. And I think that also having the one-man team syndrome that Green Bay has, that Dallas has, that
starts forcing the ball into weird places.
San Diego has now with Herbert, where they think for some reason that he needs one receiver and half an offensive line and he's going to be fine. It's like, no, that the best teams right now, you can see four of the best teams, legitimately four of the best teams are right now the contenders for the Super Bowl. And what do all of those teams have? They have a good quarterback or a great quarterback, but they also have weapons all around them and a defense that's built to withstand a long game. And they don't have that in Buffalo. They just don't. They simply do not have what he needs to be as good as he can be there. And he's injured too. Yeah, I 100% believe he's injured.
Yeah. And he'll never make an excuse, right? He's just
Mhm.
that's the guy he is. But I think that played a lot more into it than a lot of people are giving him credit for. All right, let's move on to the next game. I mean, the Eagles looked really good here, guys, and I've always been a huge fan of Jalen Hurts and his story. It just seems like a fantastic human being, and by God, he's a pretty good flipping quarterback.
Yeah, and Sirianni's a hell of a coach, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jalen did me a lot of good this year in fantasy. Nobody
Same
cares
here.
about your fantasy team.
Yeah,
but that was the stomping of the week.
well, and it was the most expected ending of the week. I mean, the Giants was a feel-good story because they were a dog shit football team at the beginning of this year.
Yeah,
and somehow made it to the playoffs. But they're still a dog shit football team. They don't have receivers. They don't have enough of a secondary to slow anybody down. You know, that team needs a lot of pieces, and they'll probably find those pieces and actually be legitimately good in the next couple of years. But everyone knew this was how Eagles were going to nuke them. They're just such an overwhelmingly better team.
Yeah, it was definitely the mismatch of the weekend for sure.
Yeah.
And all of those NFC East fucking ball schleppers can calm the fuck down because now we're down to one team from the NFC East.
The only team that wasn't a fraud out of that division.
Correct.
Absolutely correct.
Everyone calm down.
Right. And the final game to break down the Cinderella story that was the Jacksonville Jaguars comes to an end in Kansas City. Mark, how big of a deal is Patrick Mahomes' ankle?
It's huge. He's playing though, and in the second half and at post injury, you saw he was still able to maneuver and get the ball out and find open receivers and do that kind of thing. So it does limit his mobility and it does limit the playbook that they have. But you can't have Chad Henne out on the field. You just can't. So I think it definitely hurts, especially when you're going up against a team that's already beaten you 3 times in a row. But I don't think it's necessarily as big of a deal as it would have been if he was not playing.
Tank, the story out of Cincinnati this week has been that inside the locker room, the Cincinnati Bengals players have taken to calling Arrowhead Burrowhead.
Jesus.
I love this team so much.
I love him too, to be honest. I really dig Cincinnati. I dig Joe Burrow. He caught a weird amount of flack for not winning last year. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, he wasn't ready. I'm like, I don't think that's the issue. I think he is ready. He's one of the few quarterbacks in the league legitimately that you can say is steady. You know? And so a guy that's even keeled, even when the pressure's there, that's a guy that I want playing quarterback for me. That's who I want. A guy who doesn't panic even when things aren't going his way. That's the guy that I want. So I get the joke. I'd say calm down a little bit, Cincinnati, because it is still the Chiefs. They're still the top dogs in the division.
And Arrowhead in January is rough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and luckily
they did it last year.
I was gonna say, luckily they're from Ohio, where it's also just basically dog shit from November to March. So, and yeah, Patty looked hurt, but the most interesting part for me at least was looking at how it affected the money lines in betting. It was a 2.5 point. The Cincinnati was plus 2.5 coming out, and then that dropped to 1 very quickly when there was a lot of money coming in, I'm guessing, and then it flipped, and then everyone's like, oh, well, Patty's hurt. So the course the Bengals are going to win. And then the second that they said Patty was practicing, it immediately flipped back. And so now the Chiefs are favored again. And I'm like, yeah, that's what kind of a difference that guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that if you know that he's practicing, then you're less concerned about him not showing up and playing. And
he's going to play. It's just how effective is he going to be, right? And a high ankle sprain is nothing to fuck around with. That's going to impact his play for the remainder of the season, however long it goes.
Definitely.
There's going to be needles and tape and all kinds of things involved. I'm sure that the treatment room is running 24/7 trying to get that thing right as best as they can, but it's a high ankle sprain, man. That's rough.
They're gonna dump as much Toradol into him as they possibly can pregame.
Yep.
Just to get him walking.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It makes for an interesting matchup because seemingly Jacksonville's defense was just not good enough, and I'm wondering, because Cincinnati's defense is much better than Jacksonville's, how much of an impact that's going to have on Patrick moving in the backfield there. Because that was the biggest problem with Jacksonville. They don't have a defense.
Right.
They have a really young offense, and they have basically no defense.
Right. Well, we'll touch on the breakdown of the game when we get into degeneracy and place bets there, and we'll break down both of those games. Let's move on to news and notes in the NBA with our beloved Denver Nuggets. Boys, they are still in first place in the Western Conference. They're 2.5 games up over the Grizzlies, 9-2 in their last 11, and the only two that they've lost. First one was no Joker, no MPJ. The second one was no Joker, no MPJ, no Jamal.
Yeah.
This team looks really good.
Yeah, so the only time this team loses is when they have none of their top 3 scorers playing.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Interesting.
And they still played Milwaukee super tough.
Yeah, and I think you would say that about probably every single team in the league. When you don't have your top 3 scorers playing, they're going to have a much harder game to win.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And they still only lost by 8 in Milwaukee on a back-to-back on a night when their plane was delayed. They didn't get into Milwaukee until super late. I mean, if there's ever going to be a scheduled loss, this was a scheduled loss.
Well, yeah, and against Giannis, who's still top 3, top 4 players in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you top 3.
Yeah, top 3 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of an
Luka, him, and our boy.
Yeah, that was kind of an expected loss. Like, well, yeah, they have none of their best players, and they're going against one of the best players in the league.
Yeah,
chances are not great. Let's go ahead and put it that way. Let's go.
And they still put up an effort.
Oh yeah, their bench played admirably.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing the resurgence and the emergence of one Christian Brown, who played significant minutes last night, started the game off with a 2-handed dunk just out of nowhere. This kid can play a little bit.
And AG is just looking like a beast.
Finally.
He is playing
settling in
potential.
Well, I would even say finally, the first year he was here, he looked like Orlando AG. Now he looks like a totally different player. He's figured out how to play team ball in the ultimate team in the league. Like this is a team. This isn't, one-on-one spread the floor. This is pass, play defense, rebound.
Yeah, there's not much isolation ball.
There is not a whole lot of isolation ball at all.
No ISO.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason I say finally is it just seemed like, it took him forever to get settled in with the team. And not to say he wasn't playing bad, because he was, but now he looks very much comfortable in his role, and he's just got brought into a brand new level.
Yeah, he looks like the guy that Orlando drafted.
Yeah.
He looks like that guy where he can be dominant when he knows his role.
It's almost a big 4 now.
Yeah. Well, even 5, you can say KVP's the big defensive bully.
Signing of the year. Man, that has just been...
Yeah.
The worst mistake, legitimately, the Lakers have ever made was getting rid of him and Caruso and signing Shit McBrick over there.
Shit McBrick!
And because that's what they did. They gave away their entire defense and said, we just need more scoring. Like, no, motherfuckers, you need a defense. That's why you won the fucking COVID Cup or whatever it was.
Right. So the Nuggets are looking good. Still not quite number 1 seed in the entire league, but they are within shouting distance of Boston. We would be remiss if we didn't touch on the tragic news of the week. And the arrest of Michael Porter Jr.'s brother in what is reported as being a drunk driving accident where someone lost their life. Michael Porter Jr. has not played since the announcement of the arrest. As I know I speak for the two of you, we obviously are sending our thoughts and prayers to the family of everyone affected, especially the family of the young lady who lost her life. And it's just an awful situation here, fellas.
Yeah, very unfortunate that this seemingly keeps happening, I guess, but I don't know. There's not much to say about it. It sucks. And it sucks for everyone involved. There's no good guy, there's no anything here that's gonna make anyone feel better.
No, there's definitely a bad guy in this.
Yeah.
But there's no way to feel good about any of this.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right. Well, let's get ourselves out of the dumps and move into more happy stuff and talk about the NHL. Yay!
Yay!
So when last week together, fellas, the Avs were technically out of the playoffs. Now they're not, and they're surging. Look at this, boys. They are currently fourth in the division, just a point behind the Wild, and only 8 points behind Winnipeg with 3 games in hand. Team looks really good. Mark, you got a chance to watch them last night, live and in color. What'd you see, bud?
I love going to the Avs games, man. It's just a fucking blast, and got to hang out with Dipshit's mother, who we don't get a whole lot of one-on-one time, so we had a really good time, shooting the shit about everything. But more importantly, for this podcast purposes, we want to talk about the hockey. They, as of Tuesday night's end of game, are the winners of 6 in a row. It looks like they're on their way to winning their 7th in a row, if I'm getting the score correctly.
Last I checked, you are correct. Let me make sure.
I mean, I should hope so. The Ducks are trash.
Yeah, but
they are leading by 1 with 11 in the third.
And I got to tell you, there were some things I want to talk about at that game that were amazing. First off, I don't know. I love Curtis McDermott. Let me give you one of the funniest things about the parades and all that stuff was Dermy in the strip club going overhead with the cup and falling straight back on his back and nobody catching him. I love the guy. I think he's a great dude. He's probably a good hugger, He probably gives like solid bear hugs, but he does not belong on the ice for 20 minutes a game. They are missing Cale Makar, and they are missing.
Can you stop with the hyperbole? He's averaging 12.
That's still too much.
I understand, but it's not 20. He's not getting. He's not
played 20 minutes on Tuesday. That's too much, Dermy.
Should be maybe 5.
He played 20 minutes.
He played 13:55.
It was way too much.
Of course it is, because everybody's hurt.
Right. Cale's hurt, and
Landy's still out.
Landy's still out, but I'm talking specifically, he's a defensive liability. The first goal that they gave up, McDermott was completely out of position and actually ran into his goaltender, and that was part of the redirect through the 5-hole. The second goal was Ovi. What are you going to do? Ovi's in his spot. He took the shot. He's got that 700-mile-an-hour slap shot or wrist shot. He's going to do it. But overall, Georgie looked really fucking good. I am super impressed with that dude. We also got to see Darcy play, Darcy Kemper. And he looks kind of the same, where he gives up an easy goal, but makes some amazing saves too. So that was fun. Also, AUK, AKU, AKB, ABK. What's his name? Abel something Kabul. Habadi Hibi. I think I'm having a stroke.
Let's rewind and go back to where Mark says, I pride myself on being able to pronounce everyone's name on this show.
I can't remember the dude's name. He was on the team last year. He was on the team last year.
Can you give me part of the actual name?
Obey. AUBE. His first name is Obey.
Yes, Obey. Okay, thank you. I was like, who are you talking about?
Yeah. That's not actually his first name. It's the first part of his last name. Albe Kubel. Nicholas Albe Kubel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
NAK was what I was looking for. Right.
Yes.
I just couldn't remember. But anyway, so
Wow.
he it was good to see the tribute to those guys. And
I was going to say, did they do a video? Did they do a video
They
tribute?
did.
for him?
They did a tribute to both of the guys, and then highlighted them, and they both got to do the wavy thing, and it was really neat. It was very cool. I'm trying to think of, bless you. Holy fuck.
Sorry
Jesus,
about that.
Tank, chew your food.
Tank. God. Mute button is your friend, buddy. Holy crap.
Sorry about that.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
I did not expect that to come out the way that it did. Sorry.
There's that zero sugar Mountain Dew, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I can taste it. But no, it was cool. It was a great game. That team looks fired up. They look a lot more energetic than they did last week. I was a little bit concerned about the way the second line played with Miko and Nichuchkin and Lekanen. I believe that's the second line right now. They look tired, and they've been running this team for a long time. So it's just I'm hoping that they get back to where they were. Part of that's going to be getting their second line center back, who knows when that's going to happen. But that'll rearrange everything. I was also really impressed with can't remember his name, New Hook. Really impressed with New Hook on Tuesday.
He's been playing really well the last week.
He was solid.
Yeah.
He's got some flashes where I'm like, that could have been unbelievable, and then he just kind of. I'm also very worried about Sam Girard. Those ribs are not healthy. Every time he got hit, he was just not right.
Some unfortunate news. In 25 seconds, the Ducks have scored twice, so it's now 4-3.
Okay. Thanks, Debbie Downer.
Anyway, Avalanche are good.
Right. I think you're right. When Lanny comes back, he slides back into that 1C, and that kind of reshuffles everything, and it may give you an opportunity to actually get a 2C. They still may make that trade, right? They have to solve for it. I think Newey's still at least a year away. McCarr being dinged certainly isn't helpful. There's talk that he could play this weekend going into the All-Star break. And then we'll see if he actually plays in any of the All-Star stuff, because he is one of the All-Stars. So good job, Kale. And that will also help.
I think he's playing today, isn't he? I thought McCarr was playing today.
No idea.
I don't know.
No,
I didn't.
Oh,
he is playing. All right,
He's
there you go. So Kale's back.
All
right, good. That's
helps.
good news. Yeah, that helps a lot.
That cuts Dermy's minutes in half.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's circle back to Dermy's minutes tomorrow and see how many he's got. They haven't posted yet in NHL.com, so we'll see what happens.
God, it is brutal to watch him play. He is just awful. Like at one point,
the man literally is a nuclear deterrent. That's what he's there for. He's there to terrorize.
A broken stick on national TV. He's just like dropped his stick. He was like, fuck, and then just put off the eyes. Sammy G's just like, what? Okay, I guess I'm going back out there. And he covered Ovechkin a lot, and that's bad news because he can't skate.
Right.
It's bad.
Ovechkin's
just let him punch Ovi a couple times.
There you go.
Ovechkin's. I know he's 100 years old, but he can still play hockey.
Well, yeah, he can play hockey.
He plays it pretty well, actually.
Right?
No, I'm talking about putting Dermy out there and just, if he's defending him, just fucking punch him a couple times and get it over with.
Right?
You got to skate over to the dude first.
Stand in front of the net and wait for him.
There have been a few skaters in this town that have been worse than Dermy, but not many.
Not many.
Scott Parker, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. I remember specifically one time in the game we saw on Tuesday where he actually had a puck on a possible breakaway. It looked ugly. He took like 3 good chugs and then was just like, bloop. Tap.
He did have an assist in the game.
I know.
He's got 4 points.
I know. I get it.
4 points. And surprisingly, he's only
goal
got
that he
31
got
penalty minutes.
that goal he got the assist on was all Nathan McKinnon, by the way. It was
You can say
100%
that you
McKinnon.
can say that about a lot of Nathan McKinnon's
Oh
goals.
no, I get
right?
it. I get it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you get an assist by proxy just being next to Nathan McKinnon.
Sure, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's the game exactly. So it sounds like we've.
And I don't hate McDermott. I love the guy, but he just can't play that much.
Mikar is back. Nichushkin seems healthy. Mark, did he look okay to you?
Like I said, that second line looked kind of tired. Nichushkin didn't look right. Moose was really quiet. I was kind of disappointed in their play. I know Nichushkin, it was kind of his first game back. He didn't quite look like he was back up to speed yet. So
And he's actually not playing tonight. So
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Okay.
He didn't look right.
Right, and it's a good game for him to take off. You think he should be able to play pretty well against the Ducks, but we'll see how the rest of the game shakes out. The other thing to touch on, unless Tank, I'm sorry, I didn't even give you really a chance to weigh in here. Anything you want to talk about the Avs? Okay, good.
Points in when they were needed.
Okay, all right, good. We do need to celebrate a couple of things. I only put one of these on the agenda, and I meant to put two. One, Bedsy is the franchise leader in wins. 200
as of Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Good for him.
Great.
It was
job,
also his
Bedsy.
500th game coaching.
Yeah,
which was kind of
good.
fucking wild.
Right?
I didn't realize he's been there for 500 games. It's fucking nutty. Good for him. I love that guy.
Yep, and that goes all the way back to the old Quebec days, right? That's not the Colorado winning. That's the franchise. So great job, Bedsy. Definitely seeing some great stuff there. And Nathan McKinnon is the first player in his draft class to notch 700 points. Congratulations, Nate. God, that guy just changes the game every time he steps on the ice.
It's just a different. I don't eat bread, and he's just angry about everything.
He's so wound tight all the time.
Oh my God.
Dude, how
Somebody
do you
give that
do
man
that?
a slice of sourdough.
Yeah, that dude is cranked up to 11 constantly.
All the time.
We discovered what the inner
That's why
monologue
I
of
like
all
him
goalies
most.
are, and we discovered what the inner monologue of Nathan McKinnon is. McKinnon is just like, fuck you, none of you guys are eating bread. We will not have spaghetti. And then every goalie in hockey is just,
Essentially, he's Jordan on the ice.
Yeah,
He
right.
He tells everyone else, this is what
shit.
you're doing, okay?
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Oh, boy.
Oh shit.
Oh,
Oh
fuck.
shit.
Oh,
Oh boy.
fuck.
Oh boy.
Oh, fuck. Ah! Sorry, that'd be done.
Of course it did. All right. Final thing to touch on, and final thing to talk about. We touched on it a little while ago. We're going to break down the AFC and NFC championship games and place bets. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. So, Tank, I'm going to start with you on the AFC championship game. You had alluded to the flippity floppity of the lines as things were going on, and oddly, there have been a couple of anomalies, and I think one is still true. So Cincinnati is, according to MGM, Cincinnati's a +1, but the money line, they are a -105.
Exactly. The money line does not match the spread.
And it was a couple days ago before they figured out the ankle thing. It was flipped for Kansas City. Kansas City was a dog, but also was like a -110.
Okay, so I'm seeing Cincy is back at it's a +1.5 with a +100 now on money.
Okay. And you're on which one?
I'm on crap. What is it? FanDuel Sportsbook.
You're on FanDuel. Okay. Got it. All right. So break the game down. Make a couple bets here, bro.
Okay, so I do really respect Cincinnati. I love the way they play the game. I am wondering if they're getting in their own minds too much on this ownership of the Chiefs thing, and I'm legitimately wondering if that's going to cost them this game. They think that they just dominate. It's not like they're dominating the Chiefs. They're winning because they're playing a complete game. But if they go into this game thinking that they're just going to crush Fitzpatrick and just destroy this offense and not let them do anything like they did to the Bills, I think they have something scary coming their way, and I think it's going to cost them. And so I'm actually going Chiefs, and I'm going to take that 1.5.
Chiefs minus 1.5. Okay.
Yep.
All right, Mark, what say you?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of agreeing with Tank right now. I'm looking at MGM. MGM, call us. We want a sponsorship, please. We love you, MGM. We play at your casinos all the time. It's awesome. MGM, we love you. MGM, give us a call. So I'm looking at -1 for the Chiefs, being there's a difference of about a half a point there, almost exactly a half a point. Really close to being exactly half
Someone
a point.
say exactly half
Yeah.
a point. Yeah.
And the over under, guys, I'm trying to get somewhere here. Stop interrupting me. Jeez. I don't know if you know how my brain works. The over under sitting at 48 points right now. I'm taking the Chiefs in this game. Arrowhead in January. I know they've played and they've beat them before in there. It's a nightmare scenario. It's so loud, and the weather's always just atrocious. I get there from Ohio and all that, whatever, blah blah blah. Give me Kansas City and give me the over on that game at 48.
Oh, the over 48. Yeah, I
Absolutely hammer that fucking hammer.
Yeah, I got a
that
feeling
over.
it's going to be a shootout. Yeah.
What you got, Matt?
Gentlemen, I beg to disagree.
Oh,
I knew that was the case.
I think that I truly believe that Cincinnati is the most complete team left of the four. They have the best skill players, if you look at quarterback and wide receiver, that are left. I think Tank, you touched on Joe Burrow's mental makeup and how he's just steady Eddie, always makes the right call. This is not a new scenario for them. For a lot of teams coming into Kansas City in January, professional athletes don't get scared, but can be intimidating. And it's loud, and it's going to be cold, and it's going to be the AFC Championship game. They've done this dance before. I see a team, the Burrowhead stuff. I mean, who knows if it's if it's whatever. It's fine. Teams are going to talk trash. It's unfortunate I had to get out and get onto a bulletin board. I think we've seen in the last 5 weeks, even barring the injury to Patrick Mahomes, I think we've seen a vulnerable Kansas City team. This is a team that almost lost to Denver. That got played super tight. Twice. Granted, the first one was a 27-point beatdown before Denver came back and made it interesting. But this is not the same Kansas City team.
You don't bet on in division games, though. Those are squirrely. You know that.
Yeah, but it's Denver, bud. It's Denver. Denver.
They've been playing down to their opponents all year. I would agree with you. They have looked bad against bad teams.
Mm-hmm. They do not look like the same Kansas City team. You've had your time, sir. Give me a moment.
I muted myself.
No, you didn't. Now you're muted. Cincinnati's been there before. And they're better than they were last year. I feel like this might actually be Cincinnati's year. We'll see how the games shake out and how they look. I am taking Cincinnati +1. I am also hammering the over at 48.
That's 24-24. That's easy.
Yeah, who thinks that's going to actually happen? That's such a low line.
Burrow and Mahomes are going to get 24 just walking on the field each.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a guaranteed 4 touchdowns per team. It looks like.
Yeah.
Yep. So everyone agrees on the over. We are 2-1 in terms of Chiefs versus Cincy. Moving on to the other game, the NFC Championship game. Mark, I am going to start with you here. Go ahead and break down another super interesting football game in Philly and San Francisco.
Bro, what's the weather supposed to be like in Philly? Do we know? That's the only thing
You've got a phone and a computer right in front of you, just like the rest of us.
I don't know.
But you asked me to talk, so I'm trying to talk and typing and talking. Weather report in Philadelphia. Weather in Philly on Sunday. Let's find out. It's going to be 52 degrees. And so that's nice. That's really nice, actually.
That's not bad for Philly in January.
No.
Mhm.
So the weather's not a factor at all. Is Jalen completely healthy? He sure looked like it on the last game, but how fraudulent is and how much was it that they were just playing a team that really didn't deserve to be in the playoffs and the Giants? I don't know. I really think that this is probably the game of the weekend. This might actually be closer to a Super Bowl than what we get. Not to say that the Super Bowl won't be super interesting and super fun, whatever the teams are. I think we've got a good game no matter who gets in. But this is for this weekend. I think this is probably the better game in my point. The Eagles probably are the team to beat. However, San Francisco has been there before a couple of times. San Francisco will be out coaching Philadelphia in this game. And grease up them polls, man. There's going to be a riot in Philly on Sunday. I think that the 49ers are going to pull this one out. However, going back to the game, looking at MGM, I'm looking at -2.5 for Philly. Man, I really want to take Philadelphia in the -2.5, but I think I'm going to go with San Francisco because it's not a full 3 points.
So you're looking at a less than a 3-point spread.
Yeah, so I'm give me San Fran even money. They're going to win the game outright. They don't need the 2.5 points.
San Fran plus 125 is what I have on the money
I
line.
got 126.
That's what
so
I'm
close
looking
enough.
at too.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. You want to hammer it over? You like doing that?
40. I'm looking at 46.5 for that game. Fuck it. Yeah, let's hammer the over. Why not? I've been doing really well on those, to be honest.
All right,
the last time we did this, I won 4 bets and 3 of them were overs.
Yeah, I got 2 out of 3, and I was happy to get the other one.
Right.
I'm going. The only thing questionable about San Francisco's defense, because they have a very, very good defense, and they're really good at getting pressure. But I think putting pressure on Jalen is different than putting pressure on most of the quarterbacks they face. Because he can move, he can get out of the pocket, they can run the ball better than, I'd say, anybody they've played this year. And I think that's going to open up their secondary too much. And they've got Devontae and they've got AJ, and I think they're going to bomb that ball out against them. And I'm taking Philly. I'm taking the -2.5 that I have, and I'm taking the over.
All right, 1-1, Niners and Philly. It's a super interesting game to break down, right? You've got what is one of the best stories in the league in Brock Purdy and the way he's been able to play, not just in managing the game, but making just some insanely accurate throws. You've got Kyle Shanahan doing Shanahan things. Christian McCaffrey brings a resurgence to the running game that San Francisco desperately needed. They couldn't rely on Debo to do it forever and that kind of dual role. But on the other hand, you've got Philly, and they're the best team in the league all year long. The number 1 seed in the NFC. Tank touched on their weapons. I don't know if Boston Scott is going to quite have the impact because they're not playing the Giants. Yeah. And you always wonder, is this the week that they crack the Purdy code, right? He's got film on tape. You'd think they'd figure him out sooner or later. I have been thinking about this off and on all day long, just trying to figure out which way I'm going to go, which way I'm going to go. I
know it's tough, right?
2.5 is a big number for a team that looks that good. But Philly's been that dog all year long, and they are really good. They play fantastic defense. I got to go Philly -2.5 here. at home. That place is going to be just insane. They better warm up the jails in the bowels of that stadium, because no matter what happens, they're going to fill them at the end of the game. And the magistrate's going to be busy until about midnight. Give me Philly. Give me -2.5. However, I'm taking the under here. Both defenses are really good. I don't know that it's going to be much more than 20-17. So give me Philly -2.5 and the under.
I would like to say that even though I bet differently, my ideal Super Bowl matchup, because it would be the most to talk about, would be Philly versus Kansas City. There's just too much good stuff there.
And that's been
Andy
my
against the
pick
old
for
coach.
most of the year. I love that this game
Yeah.
is the one I've been waiting for.
You know what?
Yeah.
I
The
think
Andy
no matter
Reid
what
Bowl,
happens-
the Kelsey
Yeah.
Bowl, call it what you will. It's just a great
Right.
couple of stories.
I think no matter what happens, you're going to get great stories out of anything that happens, right? It's rare that you get really the top 4 teams going into. There's always a surprise. There really aren't any surprises here, guys.
No.
It's the top 4 teams going at each other, and we're going to get 2 after Sunday, and thank God we'll have a podcast the week before the Super Bowl. We'll break this sumbitch down left, right, forwards, and backwards. Right, boys?
Yep.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Words of old Boston or
Buzz's
not Boston. Scott.
The giant killer.
Scott. The guy's name was Scott, the
yeah,
linebacker. Bart Scott. I even had the B.
Another
Right.
B.
Bart Scott.
Yeah. It's another B.
Bart Scott. Yeah. Can't wait.
Can't wait.
And they got rolled by the Ravens. All right. Time for final thoughts on pimping of things. Tank, take it away.
Yep. Find me on Insta, Facebook, all those things. Tank Knox and Knox Nostalgic Collectibles. If you are gonna be local to Colorado, come see us at the Boulder County Fairgrounds in Longmont, which is still stupid, but we'll be there for Retromania. And yeah, can't wait to see you guys.
Awesome. Mark?
Yo, see us next week. We're going to be doing some nerd stuff. We are like the nerds and the goons. At least a few of us will be at the Boulder County Fairgrounds all weekend, Saturday and Sunday, for Retromania. Come see us. Come buy some shit from my brother-in-law. Come buy some shit from me. Toaster, my friend Toaster, good friend of the show, dropped off a bunch of fucking Pokemon sealed stuff that he's trying to, get to a good home. So I'm going to have all that stuff too. Come see the Duchess as well. It's all there happening this weekend. And yeah.
Very good.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Maybe the next time we get together, we'll have a coach. Who knows?
Could be.
Could be. We'll never know. We'll see then. We'll see in 2 weeks. You can always find us on Twitch and Twitter at The Idiot Goons. You can find us on Facebook. Search My Brother is an Idiot. Mark's Twitter is at Poffeltime. My Twitter is at Poffelupagus. And if you want to learn more about barbecue and other fun things, hit me up at King Goon Smoke on the TikTok. Always a good time there. For Mark and Tank, the absent Muti. We love you, Muti.
We love you, Muti.
We love you, Muti. He's probably
We love you,
sleeping.
dipshit, too, but
Yeah,
we love you
dipshit.
too, Muti.
Yeah, we love the dipshit. For the absent Muti and the absent dipshit and the rest of the Goon Squad, my name is Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been My Brother's an Idiot, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.
We're not going to forget